HALA Madrid, fellow Madridistas at heart. Welcome once again to this space where we take the time to analyze, reflect, and passionately discuss everything surrounding our beloved club. This is not just football talk. This is about identity, history, and tradition. We speak about Real Madrid with passion, with honesty, with objectivity, and above all, with the respect that the greatest football institution in the history of the sport deserves. Because being a Madridista is not simply supporting a football team. It's not only about celebrating victories or lamenting defeats. Being a Madridista is about carrying with us an unbreakable legacy that goes back over 120 years. It's about defending values of ambition, sacrifice, excellence, and resilience. It's about looking at the Santiago Bernabéu, past and present, and recognizing that those stands, that crest, that white shirt, mean something far greater than any single player or coach. And today, I want to talk about something that will spark debate. I want to talk about an issue that will divide opinions, raise voices, and perhaps even shake some of the foundations of how we have seen our team in recent years. And that is exactly why I ask you to stay until the very end, because your voices matter in this conversation. I want to read your opinions, your reflections, your disagreements. This is not just my analysis. It's a debate that we must have together as one Madridista family. The topic is none other than the situation of Vinícius Jr., our Vini. A player who, for the last few seasons, has not only been one of the stars of Real Madrid but also one of the brightest young talents in world football. A player who represents joy, explosiveness, and unpredictability. A player who, at his best, terrifies defenders and electrifies fans. And yet, as of now, things have changed. Since the arrival of Xavi Alonso, a coach who has already started to put his stamp on this squad, Vinícius's role is no longer what it once was. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Vinícius was practically untouchable. It didn't matter if he was in great form or struggling, if he was decisive or wasteful. His name was always in the starting lineup. He had the trust of the coach, the backing of the club, and the confidence of knowing that his position was secured. And to be fair, Vinícius often rewarded that faith with moments of pure magic. Goals in Champions League nights, dazzling dribbles against the toughest opponents, and that fearless energy that only he can bring. But in the recent match against Real Sociedad, something unthinkable happened. After a match in which Vinícius was quiet, ineffective, and unable to find that spark that usually sets him apart, Xavi Alonso made a bold decision. He sent him to the bench. And let's be clear, this was not due to injury, not a precaution, not rotation before a crucial Champions League tie. No, this was purely tactical. This was about performance. And that, my friends, changes everything. Because what Xavi Alonso did was not just about Vinícius, it was about sending a message to the entire squad. A message as clear as it is revolutionary. In this Real Madrid, there are no untouchables. If you perform, you play. If you don't, you sit. No matter the name, no matter the reputation, no matter the market value. This is meritocracy in its purest form. And think about what that means. For years, Real Madrid has had figures who seemed immune to the bench. Cristiano Ronaldo, Sergio Ramos, Iker Casillas, Raúl, Roberto Carlos, names that carried such weight that leaving them out of the starting 11 felt impossible. And yet, history also tells us something. Even those legends eventually sat out games when coaches needed to make bold decisions. Even Raúl, the eternal captain, was benched by Pellegrini at one point. Even Casillas, a symbol of Madridismo, lost his place under Mourinho. Even Cristiano, during the early days of Zidane's management, was occasionally rested. What Xavi Alonso is doing is following that same principle, but applying it from day one. No one is bigger than the team. No one is guaranteed a starting spot. And that shakes the foundations of how this squad operates. Let's think tactically for a moment. Vinícius has built his game on explosiveness down the left wing. His speed, his one-on-one ability, his constant verticality have been his weapons. But opponents adapt. Defenses have learned to double-mark him, to force him inside, to foul him early. And perhaps Xavi Alonso has identified that Real Madrid cannot afford to rely solely on a give the ball to Vini and hope system. He wants unpredictability. He wants competition. He wants to remind Vinícius that if he does not evolve, if he does not raise his game, the team has other options. Now, let's not misunderstand the situation. Vinícius is still one of the most talented players in the world. He is still a symbol of this team's present and future. But what Alonso has done is remind him, and all of us, that talent alone is not enough. At Real Madrid, the standard is not good. The standard is not, sometimes, decisive. The standard is excellence. Every match, every minute, every training session. And this is where the debate comes in. Some fans will argue, but players like Vinícius need confidence, not punishment. He's young, he's explosive, and he can decide matches at any time. Benching him could harm his confidence. And that's a fair point. We've seen how Vini, when frustrated or doubted, sometimes loses his composure. Protecting him, giving him unconditional trust, might bring out his best version again. But others will say, no. This is Real Madrid. No one can be above the club. Competition is healthy. If Vinícius wants to play, he must earn it like everyone else. And that perspective is just as valid. Because Real Madrid has always thrived on internal competition. Look at the great squads of the past. Di Stefano fought for his place, Zidane shared the midfield with Figo, Beckham, and Guti, Ronaldo Nazario competed with Raúl and Morientes. Greatness comes from competition, not comfort. And so, Madridistas, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Is Alonso right to set this precedent, even if it means shaking the confidence of one of our brightest stars? Or should he manage Vinícius with more patience, trusting that even in his down moments, he is capable of turning a game on its head with a single action? What cannot be denied is that Alonso's decision has injected something powerful into this team, a sense of accountability. Every player now knows that nothing is guaranteed. Every player knows that the white shirt does not forgive mediocrity. And that, in the long run, may elevate the entire squad to a higher level. So I open the floor to you. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Xavi Alonso is making the right call by benching Vinícius? Or do you think this is a mistake, that stars need more protection, more freedom, more room to breathe? Let's have this discussion together, with passion, with respect, and with the understanding that, above all, we are united by one thing, our love for Real Madrid. Because in the end, players will come and go. Coaches will arrive and leave. Controversies will arise and fade. But one thing remains eternal: the crest, the history, the values of this club. And whether Vinícius is on the pitch or on the bench, whether he is the hero of the night or learning from a tough moment, our mission as Madridistas is the same: to stand behind the team, to demand excellence, and to dream always of victory. HALA Madrid. And nothing more. Let's be absolutely clear from the start. Nobody seriously questions the talent of Vinícius Jr. The Brazilian forward is, without any doubt, a special footballer. He is capable of transforming the rhythm of a match in seconds, of breaking defensive structures with a single burst of acceleration, and of unsettling even the most organized backlines with his dazzling dribbling and raw explosiveness. Few players in today's game possess that unique blend of speed, flair, and courage to take on defenders 1 versus 1, over and over again, regardless of the outcome. Vinícius has already delivered on some of the biggest stages. He scored in a Champions League final against Liverpool, he has decided countless Clásicos, and he has proven that he can carry the weight of expectation when needed. For many fans, he embodies the very essence of what it means to play for Real Madrid: audacity, bravery, and the refusal to back down. On his day, he is unplayable, perhaps even one of the top 3 attackers in world football. But football, and especially Real Madrid, is not about what happens on his day. It is about consistency, about showing up not once in a while, but every 3 days, every week, every season, when the team demands it. And this is where the debate begins to grow louder. Because in recent months, arguably across the last season and a half, we have seen an increasingly irregular version of Vinícius. Matches in which he disappears almost entirely, where his impact dwindles, and where his body language reflects frustration more than determination. His interactions with referees, with opponents, and even sometimes with teammates, suggest a level of immaturity or disconnection that simply doesn't align with the relentless demands of a club that prides itself on discipline, resilience, and collective focus. His competitiveness is undeniable, but that same fire often burns out of control, distracting him and distracting the team. This brings us to the central question that Madridistas and football analysts must ask, no matter how uncomfortable it sounds: is Vinícius truly untouchable? Or has the time come to at least entertain the possibility that his departure could be framed not as a catastrophe, but as an opportunity? Real Madrid's philosophy: living in the present, not the past. Real Madrid is not, and never has been, a museum of promises or nostalgia. The club's identity is built on the present and on excellence. Success is measured not by what a player once did, nor by what he might become, but by what he delivers here and now, under the white-hot pressure of expectation. History offers countless examples. Players of immense stature, icons even, have been allowed to leave when the club deemed it appropriate. Raúl, Fernando Hierro, Iker Casillas, Mesut Ozil, Ángel Di María, Cristiano Ronaldo. The list is long, and it reminds us of a simple truth: no individual, no matter how brilliant, is bigger than the crest. If the most decisive scorer in club history, Cristiano himself, could be transferred at the height of his powers because the timing and conditions suited Madrid, then surely Vinícius is not immune to the same logic. This is not about dismissing his contribution. It is about asking whether clinging to his status as untouchable is really the smartest way forward, especially when the club faces a unique market scenario. The market reality: a historical opportunity. Reports from across Europe suggest that clubs like PSG and several Premier League giants are prepared to pay astronomical fees, numbers ranging from €150 million to €200 million, for Vinícius. These are not small offers. They would rank among the most expensive transfers in the history of the sport. And if Real Madrid is truly offered such a sum, the board must ask, would it be a mistake, perhaps even negligence, to turn it down? Because such an operation would not only provide a record-breaking injection of capital, but also open the door to reshaping the squad with surgical precision. With €200 million, Madrid could strengthen multiple areas of the team, ensuring depth, balance, and long-term sustainability. It would allow the club to invest in players who fit perfectly into Xabi Alonso's vision: young, hungry, tactically versatile footballers who want to grow inside the Madrid ecosystem rather than demand that the ecosystem revolve around them. Consider this: Real Madrid already has a generational core in place. Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouaméni, Fede Valverde, and soon Endrick form a foundation that could dominate Europe for the next decade. Does Vinícius truly remain the indispensable piece of that puzzle? Or might his departure free the club to build something even more cohesive, with resources spread more intelligently across the pitch? Lessons from history. The idea of selling a star is never popular in the short term. When Cristiano Ronaldo left in 2018, many feared the team would collapse. Yet the club adapted. When Mesut Ozil was sold to Arsenal, outrage swept the fanbase, but Madrid went on to win La Decima with a more balanced squad. The sale of Claude Makelele in 2003 is often cited as a mistake, but even then, it underscored the principle that no individual was indispensable. The point is not whether Vinícius is as good as Cristiano or as irreplaceable as Makelele. The point is that Real Madrid's greatness has always come from its willingness to make decisions that serve the institution, not the individual. Sometimes those decisions are painful, but more often than not, they prove to be the correct ones in hindsight. Beyond sentiment, a strategic perspective. Of course, this is not a call to get rid of Vinícius recklessly. He remains a world-class talent, and if the club is convinced that he will evolve into a more mature, consistent, and decisive version of himself, then keeping him makes sense. But refusing even to consider offers, clinging blindly to the notion that he is untouchable, risks turning a potentially transformative opportunity into a missed chance. The modern game is evolving quickly. Clubs that succeed are those that anticipate change, that move boldly when the market presents them with extraordinary leverage. Selling Vinícius for a record-breaking sum would not be an act of weakness, but an act of strategic vision, one that could guarantee Real Madrid's dominance well into the future. Conclusion: opportunity, not drama. The conversation around Vinícius Jr. should not be framed as betrayal versus loyalty, nor as love versus rejection. It should be framed as a rational, forward-looking assessment of what is best for Real Madrid as an institution. Sometimes the greatness of a club is not in keeping every star, but in knowing exactly when to let go. And if PSG or the Premier League elite truly place €200 million on the table, perhaps the bravest, smartest, and most Real Madrid decision would be to accept, not with regret, but with conviction that the best is yet to come. Because in the end, this is Real Madrid. The names change, the eras change, but the demand for excellence never does. Let us not forget something essential when we analyze both the present and the future of this Real Madrid. This team no longer lives or dies depending solely on Vinícius Jr. in attack. For a period of time, it felt like everything in the offensive phase had to run through him. His dribbling, his pace, his ability to break defensive lines. If he wasn't at his best, if he didn't have space, the entire attacking system seemed to suffer. And yet, slowly but surely, things have changed. Through the manager's work, through tactical evolution, and through the natural maturity of the squad, this Madrid has learned to diversify. The offensive responsibility is spread out. Now we see goals coming from midfield, from set pieces, from wide rotations, and from second-line runs. We see Rodrigo taking on more responsibility, Bellingham becoming a decisive figure, Valverde adding his energy and long-range shooting, and even defenders like Rudiger or Carvajal contributing in key moments. This is no longer a one-man show. It is the collective, the system, the block that gives strength to this team. And that, my friends, is not by accident. That is the identity of Real Madrid. The greatest teams in our history were never built on one player alone, no matter how brilliant that individual might have been. Think back to the Galacticos, Zidane, Figo, Ronaldo, Beckham, extraordinary talents, but always part of a larger whole. Think back even further, to the Quinta del Buitre, to the Di Stefano era, to the countless squads where stars shine brightly but the team shine brighter. That philosophy, the team above the individual, has given us European cups, domestic dominance, and global prestige. And it can, without any doubt, give it to us again today. Now, many will say, and with some justification, that selling Vinícius would be a mistake. That he is not only a sporting reference but also a media powerhouse. And that is absolutely true. On the pitch, he brings pace, chaos, unpredictability, goals, and assists. Off the pitch, he represents the future, he sells shirts worldwide, he attracts audiences, he embodies the glamour of the modern football star. Losing him would mean losing more than just a player, it would mean losing a symbol. But let us pause for a moment. How many times have we been here before? How many times did the world tell us that the departure of a superstar would leave an unfillable void? Cristiano Ronaldo in 2018, remember the panic? 30 to 50 goals per season suddenly gone. How will Madrid survive without him? They asked. And yet, what happened? The club restructured, invested smartly, and within a few years lifted the Champions League again. Go further back. When Zidane retired in 2006, people thought an irreplaceable genius had left. When Raúl departed, when Casillas left, when Ramos and Varane both exited in the same summer, it always felt like the end of an era. And yet, always, Real Madrid found a way to reinvent itself. Because that is the eternal truth. No individual is above the crest. Not Di Stefano, not Cristiano, not Ramos, not even legends like Hierro, Casillas, or Roberto Carlos. Great players come, great players go, but the shield remains. The Bernabéu remains. The winning DNA remains. That is why Real Madrid is not just a club, it is an institution, a myth, a standard-bearer of reinvention. And so, I do not see this potential departure of Vinícius as a step backward. Quite the opposite. I see it as an opportunity, a leap forward. A chance to open a new chapter, to renew the project, to reaffirm the philosophy that has always made us great. The collective first, the team above the individual. It is precisely in those moments of transition where Madrid has historically found its strength. From crisis emerges glory, from doubt emerges dominance. Now, let us face the hard, pragmatic side of the discussion. If an offer arrives, 150, 180, 200 million euros, are we really in a position to turn that down? That is not just money. That is the power to reshape the squad entirely. That is the ability to sign a world-class striker, to reinforce depth in midfield, to invest in the future with young talent, and still have resources left over for flexibility. Let us not forget, with the sale of Cristiano, with the sale of Ozil, with the sale of Di Maria, funds were reinvested in ways that ultimately fueled new cycles of success. This is not a small matter. It is a strategic decision about the direction of the club. So, I ask you, Madridistas, would you consider this sale a blessing in disguise? Would you accept the departure of Vinícius if it meant ushering in a new golden era powered by reinvestment and balance? Or do you firmly believe that he is simply too important, too emblematic, to let go of right now? These are not easy questions, and I know opinions will be divided. But that is what makes us passionate. That is what makes this community alive, the debate, the arguments, the visions for the future of our beloved club. I want to hear from you. Drop your answers in the comments. Tell me, is it time for Madrid to embrace change, or is it time to double down and keep faith in Vinícius as the cornerstone? And of course, don't forget, hit the like button if you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell icon, because in the coming videos I'll be diving into the names already linked to Real Madrid. Young stars, established legends, transfer rumors that could shape the next era of our attack. You won't want to miss it. Believe me, this story is just beginning, and what lies ahead is going to be fascinating. Because if there is one certainty, it is this: Real Madrid always returns. Always. The names may change, the faces may change, but the hunger never dies. This is the club of comebacks, the club of impossible dreams made possible. And whether Vinícius stays or goes, Real Madrid will keep doing what it has always done, winning. HALA Madrid, and nothing more.